Today we'll be predicting the AFC South for the upcoming NFL season. This division surprised a lot of people last year, and the Texans look to win back-to-back division titles. But the Jaguars, Titans, and Colts all have a case to win the division as well.
The number 4 team in the AFC South, in my opinion, is probably the most interesting division, not being biased here, but it can go either way. So none of this could pan out for me, but I'm going with the Tennessee Titans here.
So the reason why it's the most interesting division is because Trevor Lawrence is the father of the division, and he's only 24.
Yeah.
Because everyone else as quarterback is younger than him. I think Will Levis is probably same age.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
Experience-wise, no.
I agree with you. I went with the Tennessee Titans at number 4. Biggest reason is because Will Levis.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get me wrong, like other quarterbacks have question marks. Probably every quarterback has a question mark except for CJ Stroud. But I think Will Levis is the biggest question mark. He had an incredible debut, like a most surprising debut I've seen with 4 touchdown passes. But then after, I think the next 7 or 8 games, however many he played, he only threw for 4 touchdowns in those 8 games with 4 interceptions as well. So there's also, obviously, it seems like there's going to be a lot of up and down to Will Levis this year. Another roller coaster ride for the Tennessee Titans at quarterback. And I think that will be the main reason why they finished 4th.
So
as well. And I like how they addressed the O-line as well in the draft.
So sticking to the offense, I agree with you. Will Levis is the biggest question mark, along with Brian Callahan, the head coach they brought in, the new play caller they brought in from Cincinnati. We don't know how he's going to be, right? Because, again, he was behind Zach Taylor there in play calling duties. I'm not saying he's going to be good or bad. He was obviously a head coaching candidate for teams before last season as well, including our Colts. But sticking with the offense, though, one thing I do want to give credit to Tennessee is they're doing everything in their power to give Will Levis the opportunity to win and play well and not just throw him out there and make him run. You said the offensive line, they added J.C. Latham in this year's draft. They added Peter Skoronski in last year's draft. Nicholas Petit-Frere isn't terrible from what I saw. So they have a decent O-line there. Offensively, weapon-wise, yes, a huge downgrade when it comes to running back from Derrick Henry leaving for the Ravens.
But Tyler Spears was
good, but right now Tony Pollard's number 1 on the depth chart according to ESPN here. But weapons-wise, you add
Ridley.
You add Tyler Boyd. You already have Treylon Burks, and in my opinion, he's still one of the elite wide receivers in the game in DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, last year they struggled. You think you have a wide receiver crops of that? You should be decent. So it will all come down to Will Levis and the play calling from Brian Callahan offensively.
They've done really good of surrounding themselves with veterans. Obviously, wide receivers all like veterans. O-line's young. Running backs, again, veteran with Tony Pollard, who wasn't great last year. I think Tyler Spears is going to take over. And Tyler Spears is also a good receiving back as well, which will be Will Levis's best friend. But if you flip over to the defensive side, they're actually pretty solid, right? Number 1, Jeffrey Simmons. As long as he's healthy, he's going to make a difference on that D-line. I do believe they have Harold Landry still.
They still have Harold Landry.
He was up and down. Sometimes he's up and down, but when Harold Landry's on his game, he is a game wrecker. And then we talk about the 2 big moves they made in the secondary. The one being L'Jarius Sneed trade, got traded from Kansas City, Super Bowl winner, and 2-time Super Bowl winner, yes. And it was coming off for a career year, regarded as a number 1 cornerback in this league, and the Tennessee Titans got him. And they paired him up with Quandre Diggs as safety as well, because I think that's probably their buyer replacement for now as a veteran. But overall, like, this defense really does look nice on paper.
They added Jamal Adams too. I understand, not the greatest reputation, especially with Seattle recently. And they added another veteran in Sebastian Joseph Day, who's pretty solid on the D-line part. So listen, I have him at 4 strictly because the most important position is the quarterback position, and that's a lot of uncertainty. But they will, if he plays decent, they could surprise some teams like how this South Division last year did in the regular.
They honestly can, bro. Like if Levis finds his game somehow, right. And honestly, he's shown a couple games last year he can. If he could just do that over a course of a season, this Tennessee Titans team can make the playoffs, in my opinion. Because I didn't realize how good their roster is on paper.
It is.
Now just like talking about
it is really good.
It's actually fairly set up.
I won't be surprised now jumping to my number 3 team. It is our squad. For me, at least, the Indianapolis Colts. I'm not going to try to talk for 30 minutes here because we can, obviously.
We can, bro.
But here's the thing. It's very similar to the Tennessee Titans, except Anthony Richardson at least had 4 games played in the NFL, and he looked decent. And Shane Steichen obviously we know what he is. We don't know what Brian Callahan is. That's one of the reasons why I have him at number 3. I had them finishing last year, and this surprised a lot of people this year with the injuries. There's no drama offensively with Jonathan Taylor anymore. Michael Pittman Jr. is there. You added A.D. Mitchell, right? You still have some weapons-wise. Like, yes, they're not household names like the Tennessee Titans do. But they're young studs, right? And with Shane Steichen's play calling, I'm fine with that. And so the O-line is also coming back, and they had a really good bounce back.
So here's the thing, right? O-line is, they found the stud in Ryman, right?
Yeah.
Filling in the left tackle. Obviously, you have the big 3. Hopefully, Braden Smith, the right tackle, is healthy because there is no depth behind him. But Smith, Kelly, and Nelson, the main pieces of the O-line, really had bounce back years last year. Obviously, the year prior, which was the Matt Ryan year, they were absolutely dreadful. The reason why this team is way better than they were coming into last season is, one, Jonathan Taylor is going to be starting hopefully healthy at the RB1 position and without any contract dispute. Number 2, they have finally found, I know even though it was only 4 games last year, but they're finally going to be starting a week 1 quarterback in 2 consecutive years in a long ass time. And number 3, the continuity of this team is overall on the roster is they brought back everyone, right? Like, obviously I don't know if they tried, man. I don't trust Ballard, but like if they try to really add in free agency. But one thing they did is really bring back the pieces, obviously re-signing Blackman, Pittman, all these guys that were up. And they did a good job to bring back this roster. And like if you look at it on paper last year, this team was 1 game away from making the playoffs.
With division too, right?
And winning division with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
I would really hope, and I really believe Anthony Richardson is an upgrade over Gardner Minshew. No offense to Minshew, he was incredible last year. But we also only had 4 snaps of Taylor and Richardson last year. Or 2 snaps.
I think it was 2 snaps, but...
Yeah, so we should be getting more than that in the just 1 game this year.
To that point, so Anthony Richardson's still a question mark for me. Not health-wise, just, again, not a lot of experience in college as well. You got to remember that.
And also, there's one thing I want to bring up about Richardson. In this division, he is the biggest X factor, in my opinion, because
100%.
Sky's the limit for this guy, right? Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But also the ceiling is the floor is really low as well. If Richardson shits the bed, right, and doesn't play like a guy who could play like a starter in this league, Indianapolis goes to last place. There's no questions about that. If Richardson plays to his potential and somehow finds his game like how CJ Stroud did in 1 year, the Colts could win this division.
Yeah.
If he plays like just a value starter, like if he just plays just as a starting level quarterback, like, a Baker Mayfield who's proven that he could be a starter, then they'll probably finish like 2nd or 3rd. But right now, at this moment, there's just so many question marks. I personally have him at 3rd.
So you do too, okay.
Richardson's not the big reason. The big reasons are on defense.
So here, let me go with this then. With the defense, right? Again, to your point, they brought back everybody. Pro to that, you have the chemistry. Gus Bradley's still there. I'm not the biggest fan of Gus.
Same.
But we'll see how that goes. So you have continuity there. You added a stud in Latu, so your O-line should be, or D-line should be way better. He's D-Roy favorite in my opinion.
Yeah, you got Buckner, Stewart, Latu, and Pay right now.
Yeah.
Sucks to see Ebukam injured, but...
Well, right now they have Tyquan Lewis over Latu for some reason.
Yeah,
but I think Tommy Adetomiwa.
I think D-line might be the best position group in this team.
Yeah, but
next to the offensive line.
But that being said, Chris Ballard did not address the weakness like he always does. 1 year he didn't fix the O-line after some departures. Last year it was a secondary relying on a young secondary, and they got cooked. Cover 3 is going to be the main thing again. I don't see Gus changing his ways. If he does, great. We need more blitzes if that's the case. But secondary-wise, there's no elite guy that we didn't get, right? Justin Simmons ended up being a Falcon. Quandre Diggs stayed in the division. L'Jarius Sneed, sure, he got a really big payday, but he's still in the division, right? So that's where the biggest concern is going to be. The reason why I have him maybe missing the playoffs and having him 3rd place is the question mark with Richardson, but most importantly, the secondary.
So the good news for the Indianapolis Colts is that the most important positions on defense is your best position, which is the defensive line. The bad news is if the defensive line the defensive line is going to be facing a lot of pressure to get to the quarterback, because if they don't, with quarterbacks like, Levis and his potential, obviously Lawrence coming off a down year, he has something to prove, and obviously Stroud. If you're not putting these guys to the ground, they're going to pick you apart with that terrible secondary, right? And obviously there are a couple of young pieces here that look promising, Branson, Jones, but the safeties are dreadful.
Blackman had a really good year.
Blackman was really good, but
after that, they're screwed.
Yeah, there's no depth here. Branson is known to get injured. Jones at the end of the day is still a 7th round pick, right? We can't expect much from him. And Kenny Moore is a slot guy, right? He's not he's not an outside guy.
The other thing with this team, though, you got to give a shout out to Zaire Franklin, right? He stepped up, speaking of a 7th round pick, to be a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker now, replacing Shaq Leonard, who obviously after injuries had to depart Indianapolis and did not fit. But yeah, we could obviously go on and about this. Indianapolis Colts, again, it's the most interesting division. All 4 teams are most capable of winning the division, and also somehow could finish last in this division as well.
Yeah.
So with that, number 2, I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the big reason why is they lost. Again, he didn't have the greatest year, Calvin Ridley. But they have a healthy Trevor Lawrence with a decent backup in Mac Jones. I understand Mac Jones didn't have the greatest end to his New England tenure, but keep in mind, with good play calling, he was still solid in his rookie year, because Josh McDaniels was there. Say what you want about Josh McDaniels, he is a good play caller at the end of the day.
OC, more specifically.
Yeah. OC. Yeah. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. This is the make or break a year for Trevor Lawrence. He was coming out. He was one of the reasons why I was a big Clemson fan. He's labeled as the next Andrew Luck type prospect, except for 1 year has it panned out, got paid. The good news is when they last made the playoffs, this is a similar style weapons they had, right? They didn't really have an elite number 1. Last year they brought that in. It did not work out with Calvin Ridley. This year you pay Gabe Davis, you draft Brian Thomas. Evan Ingram's back, who had a great couple of years as well. So you still have the play calling and the experience of Doug Peterson. O-line hopefully could keep him upright and not get him injured this time. And then on top of that, I'll stick with the offense here before we go to the defense. There's still some continuity there, right, for the most part. And this team disappointed heavily last year after having really high expectations of what they've shown the year before when they made the playoffs, when they won the division. And that might be the same case for our number 1 team here, assuming we have the same one here. But Jacksonville is a team that could either stay at number 2, or they could win the division easily because of having a healthy Trevor Lawrence and a bounce back year.
All right, I'm just going to be brutally honest. Texans are easy number 1. That's probably the one pick I had 100% that I like, okay, I'm not changing this, not touching this. Reason being is the Jaguars, 2 years ago, they made the playoffs, right? And you like you said, it's kind of a similar roster. That's the issue for me, right? Like, you didn't really, as a GM, whoever the GM is, I don't even know.
Similar to Indy in a way.
They didn't really upgrade. They didn't upgrade.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't really progress, in my opinion. And obviously, which is a good and bad thing. Good thing in terms of, like you said, continuity. Bad thing is that, like, teams figure you out. Teams will catch up, right? Defensively, there's not a major upgrade. Obviously, there are a couple pieces here and there that will fit, like Arik Armstead. But offensively, I didn't really see anything major upgrade-wise. The only upgrade I could probably see that has a lot of potential is probably Brian Thomas Jr.
He had a great preseason.
Yeah, but overall, question mark is Lawrence and the O-line, because he has to stay upright. If Lawrence just performs like how he did a couple of years ago in the second half of the season, because you got to remember, they were like 9-8.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever it was, 8-9. It was a really bad year for the division. And they made it, obviously, at the comeback against the Chargers, right? If you get that Lawrence, the one that played in the second half against the Chargers, or second quarter, second half, and the second half of the season, this team could easily win the division. This team could easily be a playoff team. But again, a lot of question marks. There's just so many ifs around a lot of these teams in this division, right? More specifically, 3 of them. But overall, I didn't see these guys upgrade like how you wanted a young team to upgrade.
Defensively, though, studding Josh Hines Allen now. He changed his name to that. So, one, I guess, a good thing he won't confuse with that. The quarterback, Josh Allen, as well here. But Josh Hines Allen.
I mean, you can't get it confused.
I know.
There's clearly.
True. I'm just saying it.
Clearly tell which one's which.
True. Trayvon Walker, I think he'll have a breakout year this year as well. You add in a stud D lineman in Eric Armstead. Secondary, yep, it's not terrible. Like, I've seen better, but like Darnell Savage,
Tyson Campbell was good.
Yeah, so it's all gonna come down to the again Trevor Lawrence's health for me, and we'll see how that goes, because the number one team is still the Houston Texans, and big reason why is not just because like they're similar in a way similar to what the Jaguars the year before. No one expected them to be this good. They came right. You had them last in the division last year. I had them second last, but we still had them as a top 5 pick. CJ Stroud, when finally with a healthy O-line, balled out. 5 interceptions? I think the whole entire year as a rookie is amazing. And then obviously that was with Nico Collins as your number one, who was unproven up until last year. And then you add Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce, or is Dameon Pierce already there? You had a good 1-2 punch at running back. But then you add Stephon Diggs. Yes, there might be still drama. We saw a little bit of that in the preseason about targets. But then you add with Nico Collins, you add Diggs. You already have Dalton Schultz. You have Tank Dell, who will hopefully be healthy. You have Robert Woods. You have John Mechie, who's up for trade now because you have that many people. And then again, if their offensive line is healthy, offensively, I don't see many flaws.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
And with this play callers,
okay, realistic. This is what the Jaguars were supposed to do.
Yeah,
right. Like, they've made these upgrades, right? Like, don't be wrong. Yeah, Ridley was supposed to be good and didn't pan out. I don't blame that, right? I think it was a good move trading for Ridley.
Yeah,
right. But at the end of the day, he was coming off a 1-year suspension, so it's give or take there. Right? It goes to be 50-50, right? Like, Ridley hasn't played in a long time, so maybe that's why he wasn't good. He might just break out this year for Tennessee again. But overall, this offense was incredible, and that was because of CJ Stroud
and Bobby Slowick,
obviously, who's back as well. They have the continuity.
Yeah,
and you added Diggs, right? Basically, coming into this season, you basically have 2 number 1 wide receivers, right? And this will take pressure off of Nico Collins, because now you have a guy like Diggs. He gets attention, right?
Yeah,
he is that good of a wide receiver. Yes, he wasn't great last year. Don't get me wrong, but that will open up more space for Nico Collins this side, right? Tank Dell, hopefully healthy, right? A very unfortunate rookie season for him, obviously with the broken leg, or whatever it was, and then obviously unfortunate offseason as well.
Yeah.
But coming in, Tank Dell has something to prove, right? He's got to show people that he was the same guy in his rookie season, right? And the same with CJ Stroud. He's got to show us that he is not going to fall off, basically, because I don't know how you get much better.
Before we talk about the defense here, too, the only question mark with them that will stop them is A, if CJ Stroud has a sophomore slump type year, which I don't see happening, and B, it is a surprise team from last year, same with Indy. So they've won a division. They won a playoff game. They won the division. They've knocked, like, everybody has their eyes on them now, right? We project them to be very good. We project them to be like maybe clear second round, third round.
In my opinion, they're like clear division winners.
Yeah. No, but my point is, they also got to remember now they have a target on their back, not just in the division, but a bunch of other teams are going to see like, oh, these guys are not, the same old Houston Texans post Deshaun Watson.
They're also, because they finished first last year, they're facing tougher competition.
Yeah.
They'll be facing the Chiefs. They'll be facing the Bills.
Yeah.
Right? There's tough competition there. They're also going to be facing the Ravens, who beat them in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
But overall,
defensively, right?
Yeah, defensively going there, it was already a good group. It was already a solid group on paper. You had Will Anderson Jr., right, who's coming into his second. They had the O'Roy and D-Roy, right, last year as well.
Yeah.
So, again, hopefully no sophomore slump for him. If there is not, shouldn't be, in my opinion. Yeah, he have to be correct.
You have an underrated safety duo and Jalen Payton.
I can't even, like, I love that. I love, like, the veteran and the young guy, basically. Like, that's, like,
stepped up.
That's a perfect combination as safety, right? And Jimmy Ward obviously knows D'Amico Ryans because he came from San Francisco. Again, their biggest issue on defense is injuries, because Ward and Petrie do get injured a lot.
Yeah.
Anderson had injury question marks as well. But the big upgrade they had was Danielle Hunter, who led the league in sacks last year.
Yeah.
Right? And yes, he's up there in age, but overall, like, adding him, they basically got, like, they lost Gennard, but they upgraded Gennard with Danielle Hunter.
And not even just that, they added Danico Autry, yes, suspended for the first 5 games, but Danico Autry, who's been in the division for 3 different teams, third team now, is a stud. We had him, we knew how much of a stud. He was a really good player for Tennessee as well. He's only going to upgrade this team when he comes back.
Yeah,
Derek Stingley, it will be better. He stepped up last year. So, like I said, it's
And then it was on the opposite side. I think it's Desmond King.
Yep.
Solid veteran there.
Nickelback, yeah.
Solid veteran there.
Lassiter is their other corner.
Oh, okay.
But it's going to be, like I said, this team should not have a Jacksonville-type year last year. The only way would be is, again, if CJ Stroud just somehow has a weird sophomore slump and is injured.
Like to be fair, like compared this to Jacksonville's playoff run a couple years ago, I just think the Texans just have better core players than Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And plus they added to that. I think it was just clear. This is probably the only thing I guaranteed in my predictions here is that the Texans are winning the division.
So, with that being said, that's our rankings again. Once again, the same rankings. But before we close it out here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that and post notification bell. We have one video coming up here that is another division preview that Jobin will place when editing. And the other video is why we think the Atlanta Falcons, with their new additions, are the newest underdog team that could win a Super Bowl this year. And other than that, make sure you guys stay tuned, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.